Today, we're diving into something called BLIP-2. It's a new AI model that's really shaking things up, not just because of what it can do, but because of how it does it, on a budget. This is all about bridging vision and language in a way that's incredibly smart and, believe it or not, super efficient.
You know, for the last few years, the AI world has been caught up in this, well, you could call it an arms race. The whole idea was that to get more powerful AI that can understand images and language, you just had to make the models bigger and bigger and bigger. But that begs the question, is that really a sustainable way forward?
And that brings us to the core problem. Training these massive, state-of-the-art models from scratch costs a fortune. We're talking an astronomical amounts of computational power. This makes cutting-edge research insanely expensive and, let's be honest, totally out of reach for almost everyone.
So that's really our starting point, right? This whole trend of building ever larger models, trained from end to end, has created this huge barrier to entry. It's become a race that only a handful of players can actually afford to be in.
Okay, so this is where BLIP-2 flips the script. It comes in with this really revolutionary idea. Instead of trying to build another giant monolithic model from the ground up, what if we could just intelligently piece together the best models that we already have? So the strategy kicks off with taking a powerful, off-the-shelf vision model. Just think of this as the system's eyes. These are models that are already total experts at understanding what's in an image, ready to go.
And then you do the exact same thing for the language part. You grab a massive, pre-trained large language model, or LLM. This is the brain of the operation, and it's already a master at generating text that sounds just like a human.
Now here's the absolutely crucial part. You freeze both of these giant models. That means you don't retrain them at all, which saves an unbelievable amount of time and money. But this creates a brand new puzzle, right? The eyes have never met the brain. There's this modality gap. So how in the world do you get them to communicate?
Well, the answer is this really elegant, clever piece of engineering called the Q-former. The best way to think about it is like a specialized, super lightweight translator that's designed to sit right in the middle of our frozen eyes and brain.
So how does this Q-former actually work its magic? Well, it's not just a simple connector. It's more like a really smart filter. It learns to ask the right questions to pull out only the most important, most relevant visual information from the image, and then it packages it up in a way that the big language model can perfectly understand. And the training for this little translator happens in two really important stages. First, the Q-former learns what visual stuff is actually important to pay attention to when given some text. Then, in the second stage, it learns how to take those important features and serve them up to the language model so it can generate really great descriptions. Okay, so that all sounds great in theory. It's a clever, efficient approach. But the million-dollar question is, does it actually work? Can it really hang with the giant, super expensive models? Let's take a look at the results.
The answer is a huge, resounding yes. I mean, this is staggering. BLIP-2 achieves state-of-the-art results while training 54 times fewer parameters than a major competing model like Flamingo ADB. 54 times! That is just a massive leap in efficiency.
But here's the real kicker. It's not just about being more efficient. Look at this chart. On this common test for visual question answering, BLIP-2 doesn't just keep up with the much larger Flamingo model. It actually beats it by a lot, almost 9% better. So you get less training and much better results.
So what can this thing actually do? Well, check this out. With no specific training for this task, we call this zero shot, it can look at this image and you can tell it, write a romantic message, and it spits out something that's actually pretty poetic.
It also shows this amazing kind of visual common sense. It knows that a house being upside down is unusual. Now that requires a real understanding of the world, not just an understanding of pixels on a screen. And it gets even more complex. Here, it correctly figures out the man's emotion, fear, and then it tells you why he feels that way, all based on the action happening in the scene. That is a gigantic leap in visual reasoning.
You know, what's just incredible is that all of these amazing abilities just emerge from the architecture. The model can hold a conversation about a picture, it can reason about what it sees, it can even tell stories, all without ever being explicitly trained to do those specific things.
So what does all this mean for the future? Well, BLIP-2 is basically showing us that the next huge breakthrough in AI might not be about who can build the biggest model, but about who can build the smartest, most efficient, and most modular one.
This quote from the paper sums it up perfectly. The whole BLIP-2 approach is basically future-proof.
As soon as some team releases a better vision model or a more powerful language model, you can just plug it into the system and get an instant, free upgrade.
So the ultimate takeaway here is pretty clear. When you compare it to the old way of training everything end-to-end, this BLIP2 approach is dramatically cheaper, it's way more flexible, and I think most importantly, it makes this unbelievably powerful AI tech accessible to a much, much wider group of people.
And that leaves us with this one big final thought. This research, it's not just a cool technical achievement, it's a democratizing force. It really makes you wonder, what new apps, what new discoveries become possible when the ability to build an AI that can truly see and converse about our world is finally in the hands of many, and not just a few?